safety advocate, and I'd like to ask you all, are any new procedures, approaches being utilized to take care of the large increase in sexual misconduct complaints we're getting? Supposedly discipline rates are up 60%. I mean, the complaint rates are up 60% from previous years. This is to what the North County reporter had, Northern California reporter had that. But the discipline rate last year fell 28%, down to only 15 doctors being disciplined, despite the complaints being up. I know the FSMB has a new draft for guidelines for medical boards, but there's very little guidance as to when to go to the police. In fact, where the line said to consult with legal before going to police. And I've been told prior to this that each individual investigator has to decide whether he or she will bring in police. And I was wondering how much of a collaborative effort goes into that. There was one case in San Diego in 2014 where an investigator knew that this doctor had 1,300 pictures, illicit pictures of patients on his phone, all without consent. And that the investigator decided to wait to get more information to get a search warrant for this doctor's phone. He decided in July to let the doctor stay in practice. The search warrant was not requested until October. The doctor wasn't arrested until November, so during this whole time he was treating patients. In fact, one victim got fed up, went to the media, the story broke, and then everything started going. So in light of all these cases that we have, people who have been empowered by the Nassar case and the Tyndall case, what are you doing to look into that? You know, are you working with the FSMB on guidelines, or what are you doing to deal with this obviously increased area of complaints that you're getting, and how advocates can help, if there is that way, or how you're going to deal with that? Can anyone?
Can someone speak to the increase? Okay.
So in the feed process that just was discussed yesterday, there has been an increase in all complaints, and so part of the monies that we're seeking are in order to get more staff to investigate those cases. Pursuant to the new law, the 805.3, sorry, somebody help me out with it.
That's SB 425 out of SB 425.
Thank you. As a result of that, HQIU has been authorized to have to hire 11 additional positions in order to handle those. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that cases, there may be an increase in complaints, but the adjudication may lag. So you may not be seeing a proportion. For example, you may see a decrease this year, but a massive increase. It just depends on how the cases kind of cycle through the process. But yes, we're definitely doing everything to seek additional positions to handle the increase.
And I know we were talking about earlier, but is there any increase in female investigators to handle this? And some of the people may or may not be comfortable talking with the male investigator?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the sworn investigators, I think, have a wonderful showing of diversity, female, gender, different ethnicities, different races, which, you know, I think the HQIU is very proud of. In terms of a complainant's always able to ask and say if they're contacted by a male investigator, like I don't want one, I don't want a male, I prefer to be more comfortable with the female. Absolutely, that would be accommodated. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, you know, I do want to say too that it's horrible when there are news articles about egregious behavior about a physician, maybe criminal charges filed, and the physician's profile on the board's website doesn't show anything. It's very frustrating for staff. And as Ms. Sweet said in the presentation, the board sponsored legislation to try to be able to have the ability to suspend a license prior to the hearing if there was enough information to justify such action. There are states that have that power, and sometimes it's a physician who is licensed in California, licensed in another state, practicing in California with these egregious charges filed, and the other state is able to suspend the license, but the profile in California is clear. It's incredibly frustrating, and that will take legislative action, and we hear you on that and share your concerns about that.
Thank you.
I don't know how much time you want to give me, but this is my packet from last year that I didn't get to present. So I don't know, it's going to take me more than 3 minutes to go through that, but I have a lot of really good stuff there, and part of it addresses that. But first I just want to address something that was in your presentation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with my 2 cases that I presented to the board. My sister, my disabled sister, was actually killed by a doctor. And I filed a medical board complaint, and they closed it without investigation. In fact, when I first got the letter from the medical board, I contacted the hospital and said, "What did you send the medical board that they were able to close this case?" And they actually hadn't sent them anything. They hadn't sent them any medical records at all, and they still closed the case. So I complained to the medical board. They reopened the case and basically just pretended to reopen the case, and they just closed it again. My sister's dead. She died of horrible, horrible, horrible death because of the doctor. Now more recently, I've been harmed by a doctor. I went through 2 hernia surgeries by a surgeon who did the surgery wrong. I went to a 3rd surgeon who corrected the surgery, and he wrote in my medical records that the 1st surgeon screwed up. She actually sewed a part of my body to the wrong part and said it would never work. This is in my medical record. This medical board closed my complaint. So what in the world? I mean, you said in your presentation, if an expert's recommendation is suboptimal, well, what are you doing about all those cases where some of these past medical experts have now been suboptimal, and they've closed legitimate cases? We are bringing you guys tons and tons and tons of cases that are being closed. We have Annette Ramirez who went in for a hysterectomy. They nipped her colon, and she went home with no arms and legs. You guys closed her complaint. That has to be, I mean, what else could it be but a suboptimal expert? The other problem with this is that consumers like us, when you guys close our complaints, there's no appeal process. Unless we give you guys more information, which you didn't look at in the first place, you're not going to appeal the process. Doctors get an appeal. They get to appeal it all, every step of the way. Consumers cannot appeal. When I tried to get my sister's medical record after you guys closed her complaint, I wanted to find out who the expert was. I wanted to find out if they were qualified. I wanted to find out if they had conflicts of interest. Carrie denied my Public Record Act request. It is impossible for consumers to find out what went wrong on that complaint. And we have that right. We have a right to know that this medical board is doing everything possible to make sure that doctor is reprimanded if they need to be reprimanded. But we can't. We can't do that because we can't appeal. We can't do a Public Record Act request and find out what this information is because Carrie will deny it. So what are we doing? This isn't a working medical board. This doesn't work. If I can give to you guys information from my surgeon that says this other surgeon screwed up. She sewed the wrong body part to the wrong body part, and this will never work. I'm left now with a lifetime of gastroparesis every day. I get sick on almost every meal because of these surgeries. But you guys closed my complaint. How can that be? I mean, ask yourselves, how can it be? If a doctor gives you emphatic proof that a doctor screwed up, how can you close the complaint? Anyone? 2 complaints. My sister's dead. I'm left with a lifetime of gastroparesis. I got sick today at lunch. I couldn't even eat lunch because of this doctor, and you guys are closing your complaint. All I can figure out is it's retaliation because you hate me coming here doing this all the time. What else can I think it could possibly be? I mean, because it's harm. It's egregious harm. My sister is dead. And you guys closed the complaint. Why? What's happening? Why are these complaints being closed? And what are we doing about these experts that close complaints that should never have been closed? Shouldn't we be going back and finding all these cases and reopening them? No, because there's no money for that, right? So that's my main question right now, but I have packets for you guys. Marion and I work on this every single day. I have given up my career to work on patient safety stuff every single day. I do a little part-time work as a notary public. I made $2,000 last year. I do this every single day, and we watch you guys. We watch everything that's going on. I've got stuff in here that proves everything that we say. But this is going to take time to go through, and I don't know if you guys have time for me to go through that.
So let me ask Carrie something. A consumer appeal process. What, I haven't thought about it, but so could we talk about, could we expand on that? Just from your legal standpoint, is there, obviously that probably is some legislative thing that has to happen, but,
Or
in typical court environment, and I know we're not a court, right, so I'm gonna extract that, but there is some appeal process, right?
for physicians, their license is a property right. And this is built into the legislation, it's built into due process, and our codes that we're obligated to follow give them the right to seek judicial review of board decisions.
And that's totally great. I don't think we should take that away from them.
But
I just think we need the appeal process.
For civil cases where it's your case, you do have appeal rights. For board cases, once the complaint is filed, it's not your case. The board has to take that information and determine whether there's grounds to push it forward. Part of the challenge is that there are catastrophic outcomes, and you think if there's a catastrophic outcome, it means that there was a breach of the standard of care and that discipline's warranted. But that, I hear you.
But how do you know that it wasn't in my case? What if the expert screwed up?
There's some questions that I can't answer.
Well, I know,
Right?
and I understand that
But-
completely. But this is what we need to be talking about. These are the things that we need to change.
I think
And
Mr. wants to.
And I understand, the whole thing with the laws and all that stuff, and that it's not our case. You keep saying it's not our case, but once you approve that to move down the thing, you can't do much with that case without us. You're still gonna need our participation, you're still gonna need our testimony, you're still gonna need us to go to the ALJ hearing, so it still is our case.
But for most situations, the complainant does not go to the hearing because there has to be evidence outside.
I've done 3 CSLB cases, and I was told to come to all 3 of the ALJ hearings.
In most medical board cases, the complainant is not part of.
Whose decision is that?
Well, the prosecuting attorney determines who the witnesses are gonna.
But aren't the same attorneys doing CSLB cases? They're not all from
It's
there.
different.
But is that a difference in the law or just a difference of what they want to do?
It's up to the prosecuting attorney who they need to have as a witness to prove the case.
But see, this is a good example, and this goes back to what you were talking to with Marion, because the first part of my presentation is one of the California State License Board complaints that I did was over my kitchen. Ended up hiring convicted criminals to redo my kitchen. Found out afterwards because somebody anonymously emailed me through Yelp. They abandoned the job, left us with this 7-month fiasco. I filed a Contractor State License Board complaint. When you file a complaint with the California State License Board, it goes immediately on their website. And they list every single charge that they're bringing against them. Why isn't this happening with the medical board? This goes to what you were talking about with Marion. If we're seeing these doctors get sexual assault charges on the news, we're not even saying suspend as, well, of course we are. We would love to have their license suspended immediately. But come on, let's warn the public. Your job is to warn the public. CSLB, if they were able to do it, they would warn the public because somebody would file a complaint and it would immediately appear on the California State License Board website. It doesn't happen that way with the medical board. Your complaints don't appear on the medical board website. So a consumer cannot look at your website and see how many complaints a doctor has against them. It's impossible. And they should be able to do that. And if you have a sister agency under the same umbrella that can, why can't the medical board do it?
That is statutory.
I know, but why aren't we? Here's my problem too. So many of these complaints have been lodged against the medical board for decades. The time lengths, no appeal. I've read these articles in the newspapers for decades. Why aren't we working together to get the laws changed? We have all the information. We have what we need to make this board work properly to protect patients. It shouldn't take decades to get this stuff fixed. It just shouldn't. What does the legislature think of all this stuff? I mean, we hear it all from you, and your presentation was fantastic today, by the way. Thank you for that. But does the legislature not know about this stuff? Do they only get it piecemeal?
They don't respond, and they don't answer.
Well, they don't. Well, of course that. But come on, let's put together a package. Let's take Marion and all of us, and we'll go down there, we'll march down there, and we'll tell the legislators what's going wrong with the medical board. We'll show them the things that aren't working. Let's get the laws changed to protect consumers, and you guys will stop hearing from us. Let's get it working. These meetings are all well and good and well-intentioned, but they're not going to be productive unless we actually get out there and do something about it. We have to change the laws. You can't keep coming back to us and saying, well, the law says we can't do it. Well, what are you doing to change it then? Are you going to the legislator and saying, look, Eric can't file an appeal on his case. He can't find out who the expert was who said that he wasn't harmed. We need to fix that. Has anybody ever gone to the legislature and told them that there's no appeals law for consumers? Let's go tell them. When you have your next photo op day, take Marion to me. We'll tell them. I mean, come on, you guys. We're willing to work with you. Don't make us keep coming back here and nagging. We don't like it. I don't like coming here and driving you guys crazy. I really don't, as much as you probably want to believe that. I would love to stop coming to these meetings. It's horrible, and it's costing us a lot of money. Let us work with you. Let's get these things fixed. Don't keep saying we can't do it because it's written in the law that way. Then let's go fix the law. Let's go fix it. There's other states where things are working. What's the state we're in where they have to do cases in a certain amount of time? Washington?
Washington has a 180-day limit on the investigations, 10 days, so like 5.5 months.
So other states have things that are working. If it works in other states, we can make it work here. So there's no excuse to just sit back and say, we can't do it because the law says we can't do it. We can't put it on our website because the law says we can't put it on our website. Then let's go to the legislator and say, look, sexual assault cases are not appearing on the website. We have to warn consumers about it. We are not doing our job unless we're warning consumers that this doctor is a sexual deviant and needs to be there. We have this case pending in San Diego of the doctor who the CDPH found out sexually assaulted 6 patients who are unconscious. We got it on the news. There's nothing on his medical board website page. You guys are not warning the public about this guy. 6 patients sexually assaulted undercover. CDPH found out about it. We filed a complaint against it. You guys closed. Marion filed a complaint and we closed it, right?
Yeah.
Come on. That's not doing your job to not warn the public that there's a sexual deviant doctor in San Diego who molested 6 unconscious patients. How are you doing your job by not telling people? And if it's because the law says you can't, then let's change the law.
Carrie, I know that's a little bit of, I mean, can you walk through that scenario of something seen on television like that and to what Mr. Andrus is speaking to? I just want like some clarity in the room about what we see on television about a physician, where the criminal part of this is, what there are varying pieces and varying people, entities involved in this. And Ms. Castro might want to speak to this as well.
Well, this wasn't a he said, she said case, there was a 2567 from the health department.
Okay.
And I don't want to get into an argument.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't think the representation that was just made can be substantiated. So
Okay.
that's not exactly the case.
Well, the doctor, one of the patients was informed by the hospital that he was sexually assaulted by the doctor. I think that's substantial enough. They actually made provisions for him to go see a therapist and do all this stuff because the doctor sexually assaulted this guy, and it's the guy in the news report. He's now suing the doctor and the hospital. I think that's substantial. That's proof. Why would the hospital tell him that if they didn't do it?
I think Carrie's made her comment on that. You brought it up?
I know, but it's wrong.
Okay.
It's wrong.
But,
Because it is substantiated and it's in the news report.
okay. We still have time. Okay.
I just had one comment, I just want to throw it out there. It's about the review process. And just an observation, and maybe other people have input on this as well. But in hindsight, sort of from personal experience, or what happened to me. But when you write an initial complaint, you write the complaint, and then the doctor is allowed to, they write their response, correct? And then from that response, the medical investigator evaluates. Well, as a complainant, I never get to see what the doctor writes. So, and I'm assuming the doctor knows that you're not going to see this, because if you're in that little area, I think there's a big problem, because the doctor's going to defend themselves, and they will lie. I mean, I've had that. That was definitely my experience. It was proven in a court case. It was a lie. I mean, it was like 10 pages of lies. So maybe it wouldn't be that egregious in other cases. But at that point, when the investigator is evaluating from the doctor's response, I feel like it's the cards are kind of stacked, because of course you're going to defend yourself. You're going to deny the charges. Your license is at stake, in some cases. So at that point, I feel like, it seems to me like you need to let the complainant, there should be some more transparency. I would have loved to have seen that first document